Hello everyone. Today in this class we are going to learn about the class intervals, how to calculate the class limits, class boundaries, and also class marks. So we will see what is called boundary here. Okay, what are class boundaries? Then what are called class limits? Okay, then what are called class marks? Okay, sometimes it is always confuse the students how to find out these three, what are all the differences between these three while you are calculating in biostatistics. So we are going to see this today, how to differentiate this boundaries, limits and marks with the usual thing, then how to calculate these particular values while doing the biostatistics mean, median, mode or variation, whichever you want to learn. These are all the basics you want to learn it. So today we are going to see about the class boundaries, the limits and marks, how to calculate, and it is a short video. It will be useful while you are calculating your measures of central tendency as well as the measures of variation. So quickly move on to the next one. See, what are the thing we are going to study here? Now, class boundaries, class limits, class marks. Sometimes, suppose a class interval is given, for example, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, and 30 to 40. One type is given, sometimes 10 to 19 is given, then 20 to 29 is there, then 30 to 39 will be given. Okay, so now I'll call this as part 1 and I'll call this as part 2. So which is called boundaries here? Okay, whether I can take these two as boundaries or these two as boundaries, or which are class limits, whether these things are called limits or something else, or how to find out the class marks. Okay, this is often confusing for people when they are doing the sums. So we are going to see one by one here, so that after this video, I think you will be having some clarity on what are class boundaries, what are class limits, and what are class marks. Okay, so now when we talk about class interval, what is it actually? See, from 10 to 20, I'm having some numbers. See, suppose I'm having 11, okay, 11, then I'm having 12, I am having 13, I'm having 14, okay. Now, these numbers will fall on to this particular class interval, okay. Now, sometimes you'll be wondering where to include this 20. So here, I'm going to show you whether the 20 has to be included here or 20 has to be included here. So we'll be having a confusion here, but here there is no confusion. Okay, so now up to 19 I'm going to include here, but I'm going to include 20 here. Okay, so now there are two questions to be answered here. Okay, now where this 20 has to be included here? And suppose I'm having 19.5 as my answer, whether I should include here or include here, will be having a confusion. So that is why we are going to study this class intervals in detail now. So now, when we go for class interval, there are two types. One is called exclusive, another one is called inclusive. Sometimes it's a little confusing how to remember this exclusive. I'm going to tell you one trick here, how to remember this. Yeah. So now, when I want to add this 20 in this particular interval, 10 to 20 is there, 20 to 30 is here, 20 I should not include here. I should include the 20 value in this particular class interval only. So 20 will be added in this particular class interval. So I'm going to exclude this 20 in the first one, so I can remember like this. So when I exclude this, I will call it as exclusive, but it is not true when you have this definitions, but you can remember like this. I'm going to exclude. Now this is called inclusive, that we can find it out. Okay, so now 10 to 20, 20 to 30. Now these two are equal. So I'll call it as the class extreme values. Okay, so now 10 to 20 means this is a class. I will call this as class. Then this is lower extreme value. Okay, now this is upper extreme value. Okay, upper extreme value. When the upper extreme value of the first class interval is equal to the lower extreme value of the second one, then it is called the exclusive class interval. Then these two are not equal, then it is called inclusive class interval. This is what we are going to study in the next one. Okay, so now what are this class boundary and class limits? See, for example, class boundary upper extreme value. What is that upper extreme value? This is the upper extreme value of the first class. Okay, now this is the first class. This is the next class. Okay, I can call it as next class. This is the first class. This is the next class. See, when upper extreme value of the first class, that is 20, is equal to the lower extreme of the next class, that is this 20. Okay, now these two are equal, then I will call this as class boundary. Now I should not call this as class limit. Okay, so now exclusive class interval will have class boundaries, that you can remember. Exclusive class interval will have class boundaries. Now upper extreme value of the first class, see, I'm going for first class, this is I'm going for the next class. Okay, now upper extreme value is 19 of the first class, then lower extreme value is 20. When these two are not equal, then we will call this as the class limit. Okay, these values are called class limits and these values are class boundaries. So now when we talk about exclusive class interval, I will say class boundary. When I talk about inclusive class, then I will call it as the limit, class limit only. So I will be always converting into the inclusive class interval to exclusive class interval. In the next slide, I'm going to show how to convert this. So you have to remember class boundary and class limits are these two. So now what we are going to do now, converting into inclusive to exclusive. So suppose I'm having an exclusive value. So I'm going to have an exclusive value. This should be the other way. See, this should be the other way. Now this should be inclusive. Okay, this is called inclusive. Okay, and I am going to convert into the exclusive. Okay, exclusive format. How to do that? Find the difference between the lower limit of the first class. Here, I just note down, I am calling this as limit because I am concerning about the inclusive. Okay, so inclusive class interval. So what I'm going to do is find the difference between the lower limit. So this is the lower limit and the upper limit of the second class. Upper limit of the second class, what is the difference here? It is 20 minus 19, that is equal to 1. So I found out the difference between these two. Then I'm going to divide it by 2. So I'm going to divide it by 2. I am getting 0.5 as the difference here. So this difference, I am going to subtract it from the lower limit. So 10 I am going to subtract, add it with the upper limit here. Lower limit subtract, upper limit added. So 10, if I subtract, I'll get 9.5. Then I'm going to get it as 19.5. That's what the third point says. Add the value to the upper limit. Subtract the value from the lower limit. So now subtract it here. It is 19.5. Then add it. It is 29.5. Here I'm going to add it here 29.5. Here it is 39.5. So that is how we are converting this inclusive class into an exclusive class. Now, how come it has become an exclusive class? Because these two values are equal. Therefore, it has been converted into exclusive class. Then I can use. So sometimes it is necessary to convert the inclusive class into exclusive class. Then only I can do it. So always remember, exclusive class, we'll call it as class boundary, and inclusive class, we are calling it as class limit. Now exclusive class, see this lower limit, these two will be equal. In the inclusive class, these two will not be equal. Okay, this is what is the little confusion while you are doing your sums. Okay, so now we understood how to convert these values into the inclusive to exclusive, and we are going to see what is called the class mark. Okay, so now class mark is always concerned with the inclusive class intervals. Inclusive class interval only, right? So now here I'm going to change this to exclusive. Now I'm going to write this. So this is not exclusive, actually this is inclusive. Okay, inclusive. So I'll take the inclusive class interval. Then I am going to find out the difference. I'm going to add this to and divide by 2. Okay, so I will call this as a midpoint. Okay, 10, 19. What is in the middle? I'm going to find out. This is the middle value is called the class marks. Okay, class marks only come for the inclusive class intervals. You have to remember. So now 10 plus 19. So I'm going to add it. So it is 29. 29 divided by 2, I'll get 14.5. Similarly, 20 plus 29 divided by 2 will give you 24.5. Similarly, 30 minus 39 divided by 2 will give you 34.5. So now class marks are the midpoint of each class. Okay, so now it's obtained by averaging the class limits. That's why I'm going to divide it by 2. So this is how you have to remember. See, I'm going to give a summary so that you will understand. See, suppose a class is given as 10, 19, and 20, 29, and 30, 39. Now, this is nothing but the inclusive class interval is given. So, what I'm going to find out? I'm going to find out the class limit. So, what are the class limits here? These extreme values. So, 10, 10. This extreme value is 19 and 19. This will be taken as class limits. So, but class boundaries. So, what should I do here? Class boundaries, to find out the class boundaries, I should convert them into exclusive. So, 19 and 20, I am finding the difference. It is 1. I am dividing it by 2, so it is 0.5 that you subtract with the left and add with the right. So, it is easy. Now, 10 is there. I am just subtracting 0.5 here, so 9.5. I am adding it here, so 19.5. So from class limits, how will you how will you find out class boundaries? Then it is finding the difference. Okay, so now I'm adding with the left and right when the class interval is given as the inclusive class interval. Then exclusive class interval, it is easy. Just you can write it as it is. Then only you have to find the midpoint of this particular class for the class marks. I hope I made it clear. Actually, if you have any doubt, you just put it in the comment box. What are all the doubts you are having, so that we can prepare another video and send it to you. Okay, so have a good day. Thank you very much.